Am I the a-hole for allowing my brother to be homeless? My older brother Dave, 42, hasn't worked since 2020 when he was first laid off. His reasoning is that he's not taking a job at a lower pay because it will hurt him in the salary negotiation process. So he's not taking another job until he finds one that pays like his old job did. His wife left him because of this. In the divorce, Dave got a house. He's going through the foreclosing process now, and he's run out of savings, so he's looking for a place to stay. I have an extra bedroom, but Dave is not coming here to freeload. He has to have a job. I would settle for any job, even a part-time one. But Dave is still stubbornly insisting he's not working for less than his worth. I finally got upset and said, fine, be homeless. Dave was extremely angry that I wouldn't even consider taking him in until he finds this job. And now family members are on me about how could I allow Dave to be homeless? But I don't see anyone else offering their spare rooms and couches to Dave. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. I used to work at our county welfare department. I remember a man who was holding out for a high-paying job. I suggested he apply to UPS. He said no, that he was too good to work at UPS. I remember thinking to myself, you're too proud to work at UPS, but you're not too proud to apply for welfare? Your brother appears to have a similar attitude. He's too proud to take just any job, but he's not too proud to mooch off of you. Don't let him. With this attitude, he may never find a job and may never move out if you let him move in. OP's brother would be a perfect fit as a UPS driver. He doesn't have a wife to come home late to anymore. Not a-hole. Just the idea that he would get paid the same amount as his old job after being laid off and not working for 3 years is idiocy. Even if you or anyone in your family took him in, odds are he would stay jobless until he got kicked out. He needs a reality check, and if this is what it takes, then so be it. I also don't get the bit about salary negotiation. So employers go, you worked as a cashier for $15 an hour, so you'd be fine to work for $16 an hour as a brain surgeon? And to your family members, yeah, if they have a problem with Dave being homeless, then they're welcome to invite him to live off of them. If they truly cared and thought you were being ridiculous, they would have welcomed him with open arms. I wonder why they haven't been scrambling to help him. Not a-hole. He isn't homeless because his house burned down or his disability or whatever. He is homeless because he chooses to be. Work and pay your bills and have a wife and house, or do nothing and be homeless. He has options. He doesn't get to pick don't work and freeload off my unwilling relative. For what it is worth, I've been in a similar situation with my sister but years ago and did not let her move in. With perspective that comes with time, it most certainly the right decision for both of us. This is correct. He chose to be homeless. I cannot believe the guy was willing to lose his wife and home rather than get a job that he may not like. I had a roommate like that. She lost her job and was freeloading off me at a time, and she actually said to me, well, I have a master's and don't want to take a job I hate like you. Well, which one of us is paying for this house we both are living in, Miss Masters? I was so mad I gave her a week to find something or GTFO, and she started bartending, just like Dave should have done a long time ago. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my brother hide behind a dead wife card anymore? My 30 female brother, 34 male, lost his wife a year ago. They have 3 girls, 12, 5, and 3. My brother was definitely one of those husbands who worked, came home, played with the kids, but that was it. His wife ran the show, chores, raising the kids, making sure they went to school and activities, all the cooking, etc., all on top of her own full-time job. She died quite unexpectedly, and to say he was lost is an understatement. So, I stepped in to help. Some may call it enabling, but it was that or my nieces would suffer. They do their part around the house, what's appropriate for their ages, obviously. I've been trying to teach my brother to do the rest. I understand he just suffered a massive loss, and a lot of his inability to learn, I put on grief. But as we close in on 14 months since her passing, he definitely has just used me to replace his wife in all ways domestic. I've tried talking to him about it before and he'd pull the "my wife just died" card. Again, on me that I let it slide. My final straw was when I went on a work trip and came back to chaos. The house was cleaned because the girls did more than their fair share. Obviously, they should have chores, but by his own admission, he did nothing despite having the time to. Oldest told me she was the one making sure the little ones went to school/daycare, and she's done all the cooking. She had to give up an end-of-the-year dance because my brother asked her to watch the girls so he could go out with friends. I had a come-to-Jesus meeting and told him he needs to get his act together. I'm doing more tutorial day, and that's it. He needs to either hire a housekeeper or nanny as he can afford both, if he's not interested in doing his share of the chores or taking the kids anywhere. He needs a calendar to remind himself when stuff needs to get done. I said it was this, or the girls come stay with me until he gets his act together. He started on the whole "I just lost my wife" stuff again, and I pointed out the girls lost their mother, and now it's like they lost their dad too. He asked if I was calling him a bad father, and I didn't answer, which ticked him off. He said his family, I should be willing to help. I said I'd help, but I'm not his wife. Now the girls are staying with me. My family says I should have kept helping him versus berate him, and that I'm heartless for not being empathetic enough. They added it's my fault the girls are missing their dad because I gave him the ultimatum, and if I just kept helping, they'd still see him. It seems no one is on my side. So am I the a-hole? Edit. Comments telling me to send those girls back and let CPS get involved if he doesn't get better will not be entertained. That's not punishing him, it's hurting the girls. Save your fingers typing that one out. Not the a-hole. You aren't his wife. And his oldest daughter isn't his wife either. He needs to step up and be an adult, rather than depending on others taking on his adulting for him. Him putting the 12-year-old basically in charge while you were gone was highly inappropriate, and long-term would have likely resulted in CPS involvement. Exactly this. The children lost their mom, and they shouldn't have to do everything in the house on top of that. A few age-appropriate chores, sure. Taking care of 2 siblings and yourself, and even missing a big event? Not so much. If this man can't take care of his family, he needs to hire someone to look after certain things, like a nanny or au pair, or at least someone who cleans the house. The children need their father more than anything right now. I couldn't believe it when I read he could afford a nanny. My mom is one of 3 sisters. They were 12, 11, and 6 when their mom died. Their dad had his own construction company where he worked as hard as his employees. When his wife died, he instantly brought in a nanny/housekeeper. He didn't want those girls trying to take over for their mom in some BS attempt to keep the household going. He certainly didn't want them raising a 6-year-old. He wanted to make sure they still had a dad that could spend quality time with them. Having someone cook and clean on his work days allowed that. My mom has always spoken highly of him when she reminisces about how hard he worked to stay involved and how she still enjoyed her teenage years because of it. Meanwhile, the guy in this post is being an absolute a-hole. If he's going out with friends while he expected the eldest would watch the other 2, I'm wondering if he's trying to pretend he's not a widower with children and instead just an unencumbered bachelor? Either way, their dad isn't invested in them, and my heart hurts for those girls. At least with Opie, they still have someone that truly cares. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling the C-word to my future sister-in-law after she tried to gain sympathy with my miscarriage? I'm sorry if this seems all over the place. I'm just so mad that everyone is siding with her. My future sister-in-law, Ella, 30 female, is your typical annoyingly bubbly girl. She's always happy and smiling, caring and compassionate. My brother, 37 male, is foolishly in love with her, and it seems like the rest of my family is wrapped around her finger. My brother and I, 34 female, grew up very close. When we were 10 and 7 years old, our father passed away, and our mother, 69 female, struggled as a single mother until she met our stepfather, 65 male, who is truly an amazing person. They had our little brother, 25 male, who happens to be Ella's best friend and the reason she met our brother. 28 days ago, my husband Mark, 34 male, and I tragically lost our pregnancy at 22 weeks. It was devastating then, and it still is. I haven't been ready to talk to my therapist about it yet. This was our first pregnancy that progressed this far, so we were filled with hope. Since the loss, I made it clear that I didn't want to talk to anyone, and that I didn't want any visits. However, Ella keeps sending deliveries of food every now and then with stupid messages like, "You are cared for and we're here for you, thinking of you." It infuriates me to hear Mark commenting on how nice and thoughtful she is. Last night, she asked me if she could come over with my mom and my brothers to quickly discuss something about their wedding. She apologized, saying she knew it wasn't the right time, but the wedding is only a month away, and this conversation couldn't be delayed any longer. In essence, Ella wants to postpone the wedding for another 6 months. It is a small affair hosted at a friend's place, and since she briefly explained the situation, the vendors are willing to change the date at a minimal cost. To paraphrase her, she said, "I don't feel this is the best time to have a wedding. I really want you at my wedding party, and I suspect you won't want to be around people asking you what happened, as if she knows what I want or don't want." Of course, everyone started going off about such a great idea and how sweet that was of her moving a special date for her just to accommodate me. What made me snap was what she said next. "Whenever you feel up to it, we could have a girl's day to get you a new dress, because mine was pink, made specially to fit my growing bump." I screamed at her that she was a C-word for looking for sympathy at my expense, that I hoped my brother and everyone else could see her for the conniving and manipulative piece of work she was, that the only girl's time I wanted to have is with my beloved girl that isn't with us anymore. All of them were stunned, and she ran out crying. My brother told me to seek therapy, and mom and little brother just left. This morning, my husband told me that while he understood and shared my grievance, I shouldn't lash out on innocent people, that she only wanted to help. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. She literally did almost everything as correct as possible in a situation like this. "You're the a-hole. Sorry for your loss, but that's not how you treat people." Every day we hear on Reddit about in-laws who overstep boundaries or don't consider others. She wasn't doing any of the usual negative stuff. I was expecting to read that future sister-in-law posted about OP's miscarriage on social media to gain sympathy or something. But nope. It really sounds like future sister-in-law was genuinely being considerate and caring to OP. It also sounds like OP just plain hates future sister-in-law. OP, you're the a-hole totally. Your brother is right. You need therapy for more than one reason. You're the a-hole. And if I was in your family, I would make a note to never ever attempt to be nice to you again. My future sister-in-law Ella is your typical annoyingly bubbly girl. She's always happy and smiling, caring and compassionate. My brother is foolishly in love with her, and it seems like the rest of my family is wrapped around her finger. Starting the post off with this description says more about OP than it does about the future sister-in-law. You're an incredibly bitter person, OP. Major a-hole, you should refund your future sister-in-law for all the groceries she bought you. You're the a-hole. Your future sister-in-law sounds delightful, and you sound like you are and were always miserable. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother-in-law that his competition with my nibbling's dad is pathetic? My sister has 3 kids with her ex, Jonas and Lachlan 10 and Summer 7. They broke up when she was pregnant with Summer. They'd had a pretty rocky relationship, and she was never sure she actually wanted to be with him, but the boys had been a reason she kept trying. Ultimately, she decided, after talking to the family about it, that they were better off as co-parents, especially before they ended up with a bunch of kids together. They're civil, and sometimes my sister has admitted she regrets not ending it on better terms. She met her husband Stan 4 years ago and married him 3 years ago. Stan is a brick. He's entitled, spoiled, and has never been my favorite person. He thought that we all hated my nibbling's dad and blamed him for their breakup, and that he would make a better dad to my nibblings. I think he was shocked that we were all still on civil to friendly terms with my ex-brother-in-law. He was also pretty aggravated early on when the kids didn't latch onto him as a better dad, that they still loved their dad, that they would miss him on weeks they were with my sister. He tried to win them over by spoiling them and trying to invite himself along to different activities that they did with their dad normally. This past Father's Day, he even gate-crashed a hockey event for fathers and their kids that their dad was at with them. His name wasn't listed, so it became an ordeal, and he was angry that the kids said he wasn't their dad, or that their dad didn't invite him to join in. But he has made snarky remarks to him over the years. He has claimed their dad commits parental alienation by not sharing all fatherly duties equally with them. He has claimed he is a selfish dad for not allowing them to stay in a two-parent home. He keeps talking about things he does better, or how he does more than the kid's dad does, when I know that isn't true. Our whole family knows my sister's ex is an amazing dad to their kids. He even tried to bribe the boys into having my sister and him there for their school's field day with parents event. They had asked their mom and dad, but Stan wanted to go with my sister and he didn't want their dad there. The boys were saying they wanted their parents there, which ticked him off. So he was ranting and raving about everything when some family came over at the weekend, and I told him the competition with my nibbling's dad is pathetic, and he needs to stop acting so entitled and start being happy for the kids that they have a great dad who isn't a deadbeat. He got angry at me, and while most everyone else agreed, my sister said it could have been less harsh. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Sounds like it's good your sister doesn't have kids with Stan, because he may be a thing of the past if he keeps it up. Sister needs to leave Stan unless he changes for the better. Pretty audacious of Stan to tell the kid's dad that he is committing parental alienation against him, when Stan himself is trying to turn the kids against their own dad by trying to meddle into their dad's son's time, bribing them, telling lies about their dad to the kids. And when things aren't going the way he planned in his delusional and entitled head, starts cussing everyone who sides with the dad, even in front of the kids. Imagine the kind of upbringing the kids are going to have in the presence of such a repulsive man. OP, you're not the a-hole, obviously. My sister said it could have been less harsh. Hey OP, tell your sister her methods of finding men are as pathetic as the men themselves. She's continually letting Stan be a complete C-word around the kids and says, "You're harsh?" The poor kids are just gonna remember their mother allowing this kind of abuse when they get older. Not a-hole. Good of you to put him in his place. Sister absolutely needs a wake-up call that these aren't the actions of a loving step-parent, but instead those of a possessive a-hole. If she doesn't change her approach, she shouldn't be surprised if it drives a wedge between her and her kids. Not a-hole. Whether or not you could have been less harsh is irrelevant to whether or not he needs to hear that children having their father in their lives isn't a negative. He can still be an additional parent and take pride in that without wanting the kids to have less.